Now, I don't know if you've ever been held at gunpoint at the Vatican. I have, and I'm going to tell you the whole story and exactly how it felt now. Hello Skipper, I'm Jason Arnopp, the author of The Last Days of Jack Sparks, Ghoster and Beast in the Basement. I used to be a rock journalist and that's how this story came about. In fact, this story is one of the 30 assembled in my book of rock interviews from the front lines of rock. And the story involves the popular black metal combo Cradle of Filth. This candid photograph of the band was taken one evening as they enjoyed a delightful stroll in the park. Now this story happened in the mid-90s, back when rock journalism and photography were somewhat looser in the sense that we probably wouldn't contact the appropriate authorities to get permission to do what we wanted. And so Kerrang photographer Paul Harries and I were sent to Rome to cover Cradle of Filth. Our mission was to do this out and about piece in Rome, with Paul taking lots of pictures of Cradle having some kind of leisure time in the city and me interviewing them about it. Except the whole thing didn't go quite as planned. In fact, it didn't go anything like it was planned to be because we all got arrested at gunpoint. So here's the thing, we decided to go to Vatican City to do a photo shoot because that would be funny, wouldn't it? Taking a demonic black metal band to the Vatican for a picture. What could possibly go wrong there? So there we were in Vatican City, getting the job done with Paul photographing the band and me interviewing them in the middle of this big square. All of a sudden, before we had any idea what was going on, we found ourselves surrounded by a circle of angry Italian men holding submachine guns. I'm not kidding, they were machine guns. Absolutely lethal looking things, as guns tend to be. Pretty lethal really, by and large. When a gun was pointed at me, a primal kind of response ignited in my head. You can't help but feel that way because, as the Beastie Boys sang, you're looking down the barrel of a gun. And I remember my stomach suddenly felt very heavy indeed, like there was some kind of hot bowling ball inside it. You can't help but think, God, is this the day that my whole life was building up to, getting shot in a square at Vatican City? That would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? And that loss of power just feels really horrible. The thing with guns in fiction on the screen is that they're very exciting and entertaining and inherently kind of kinetic and dramatic. In any given story, if you have a man walk into a room with a gun, the excitement goes up a notch. But in reality, guns are evil because they were created for one purpose and one purpose alone. They shouldn't exist. And so it's unpleasant to find yourself looking down the barrel of one of these things that really shouldn't exist and could blow your head off. And of course there's the very real worry that these bullets may have been dipped in holy water, and so if any of us were even so much as grazed, we'd die. One thing that definitely did not help our case with those guards at all was the fact that the singer, Danny Filth, was wearing a t-shirt emblazoned with the words, "I love Satan." Meanwhile, the keyboard player Les Smith wore a vicar's collar, which the guards ordered him to remove. And I can remember that one of the guards took this collar and shook it over their head in this self-righteous fist. That seemed to bother them more than the "I love Satan" shirt. Now my memory is a little bit hazy on exactly how long we were detained by the Pope's security guards. I think it was probably anything between 15 and 20 minutes, which felt like a long time, and there was the worry also in the back of your head that Vatican City has its own rules, and so they could just decide to lock you up and throw away the key, I guess. Luckily, among the guards, there was a younger guy. The rest of the guards were speaking only in Italian, but this guy, being younger, knew a fair bit of English, and so he was really trying to smooth over everything. And there was an older guy who was absolutely furious with us, just looking at us as if we should be shot like dogs and set on fire, just for good measure. Now the bass player, Robin Graves, possibly not his real name now I come to think of it, very much put his foot in it with this young guard, because while we were waiting for the decision as to whether we'd be freed or set on fire, the young guard struck up some kind of small talk with us, and he said to Robin, "What kind of music do you play?" And Robin said, "Evil music." in this very dour fashion. That really didn't help. So we had one guard who was trying to help us, and Robin almost completely blew that out of the water. But in the end, some kind of decision was clearly made. They realised that we weren't a major security risk, we were just a bunch of English idiots, and they let us go, which was just as well because Cradle had a gig in Rome that night, and very good it was too. Now you can read the entire Kerrang article, which I then went home to write, in my book From the Front Lines of Rock, which gathers some of my favourite interviews from those days. And so there's articles in there with the likes of Iron Maiden, Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Kiss, Green Day, Manic Street Preachers, Eminem, Limp Bizkit, Korn, Man O' War. Let's not forget Man O' War. Details down below for how you can get hold of that book. If you've enjoyed this ridiculous tale, then please consider liking, sharing, and of course subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. When in Rome, don't do what Cradle of Filth do, and of course, embrace your obsession.